I'm Natasha Chilingarian.
I'm Michael Ogden. This is Shared Accounts with CU Times. Remember as a kid how excited you felt as your birthday was approaching? Day by day, getting a little bit more excited, dropping hints to your parents of what you wanted, dreaming that maybe you'll wake up on your birthday and finally get that cool bike or Batman alarm clock. Spoiler, I got both. Hey, but I've been thinking about birthdays from long ago because today is producer Zach's birthday. Happy birthday, Zach.
Thank you, both of you.
I'm sure you hate this. But here's the thing. We're not singing, for God's sakes. But Zach, I did want to ask you, did you wish for anything this year, for your birthday?
I'm getting it right now. I get to record a podcast with my two best friends.
Stop
come
it.
on. No, that can't be it.
Aim higher, please. But that is very flattering.
I am going to a baseball game tonight with a bunch of my friends from college that I haven't seen in a while. So,
okay.
Fun.
I'm going down. I'm in Cincinnati. I'm driving down to Louisville. It's about an hour and a half south. They have a minor league team.
Yeah.
It's cheap and a ton of fun. So I'm actually
That's
really
great.
excited.
Okay, I have two follow-up questions here about birthdays. Looking back when you were a kid, do you have a memorable birthday present you got?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
Like when you think Zach child birthday,
There were multiple years that I got a new bike that it was the highlight.
Adorable. What was the color of the bike? Do you remember?
The one that stands out the most was blue.
Blue, great color.
Oh.
And were you a big fan of birthday cake?
Not really. I'm not a big cake fan, but everyone in my family except for me is. So I would just suck it up and say, of course I want a cake.
Sure.
Oh, so you just let everyone else eat the cake instead? And well, you probably, I don't know.
Yeah, because I didn't care that much and I knew they all liked it. So why not?
Well, was there another special, like a special meal that you liked having on your birthday that you would like, you would request from your mom to cook for you, or that your wife cooks for you or something? Or
so without getting too off track, a lot of times I would use my birthday to try to go out with like my parents and sister to a restaurant I'd never been to and use it as an excuse to try.
Yeah.
And hey, can I get a Shirley Temple with that?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that my parents ordered a Shirley Temple for me.
I love that stuff. Well, Zach, we adore you so much, and we appreciate the hell out of you. Excuse me, I'm getting all choked up.
Don't get choked up.
I'm not. That was a frog in my throat. But Zach, we do love you and wish you a super and very happy birthday. Enjoy the baseball game tonight. But to everybody else, welcome to Shared Accounts with CU Times. Coming up, we are chatting with Cooper Thompson. He is head of product for embedded finance at the core processing and fintech giant Fiserv. He's going to be diving into the very timely topic from both a fintech and regulatory standpoint. That topic is stablecoin. It's actually interesting, people. Stay tuned for it. I promise you, it was really good. Hey, but first up, as always, we do have to take a break from the week. Check in with Natasha. Hey, Ann.
Hey, Em.
How you doing?
Doing okay. Yeah, it is Friday as we're recording this, so
yeah, weird Friday record.
Good, yeah, quite a week for us. Definitely busy. So yeah, but I would say I agree. I think for our listeners, stablecoin, very interesting. We promise you won't fall asleep. We have a very enthusiastic guest as well.
Seriously,
who's just so excited about all of this, and
yeah, we had a great time.
Yeah, so let's try to...
I do got to watch. We do have a very interesting interview, like you were saying, coming up. It's real beefy, but God, is it entertaining. But I do need to ask, Natasha, have you been watching or reading anything this past week?
Yeah, I don't think I've watched anything that's worth mentioning. Just kind of my usual true crime and, I don't know, just keeping up with that stuff in the background.
Right.
But no, I actually am reading a book that I wanted to bring up because it sort of ties in with our topic in a way. It's kind of a nerdy book. It's about the whole history of like communications all the way up until now. And so it's called Super Bloom. It would help if I gave you the title. Super Bloom, How Technology technologies of connection tear us apart.
Wait, so is this a story or is this just research?
It's
History?
nonfiction. Yeah, it's
Okay.
kind of historical. I mean, when I'm reading it, I almost feel like I'm back in like journalism school when you're learning about like the
Huh.
history of mass media, the
Right.
history of communication.
Mhm.
It's by Nicholas Carr,
Nicholas
and
Carr. Can
it
you
goes
spell the
through
last name?
Carr, so
Carr.
Carr with 2 R's. What I found interesting about it, what drew me to it, is it says it was an exploration of how social media has warped our sense of self and society, which is, I find that topic so fascinating. How we live online, our communications have become so different because
Mhm.
of how the nature of how we communicate over text, over
Mhm.
social media, over
Yeah.
even what we do day to day, with each other.
Yeah.
We're not seeing each other day to day. But yeah, I'm only about 30% into the book now. But yeah, it's definitely, like I said, it's a little academic-y. So if that's not your cup of tea, if you just want an escape and you want to read
Mhm.
something that's like a
Can
romance or
can I throw out an idea here?
yeah, go ahead.
Finish the book,
Okay.
and if you think it is worth it, let's see if we can get Nick Carr on the show.
That would be an interesting idea. Yeah. Huh.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Talking
Yeah,
about communication
I don't
channels.
know how famous he is or how,
Mhm.
untouchable he is, probably not.
Mhm.
That's a great idea. We should look into that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, let's see, he was a finalist for a Pulitzer Prize for another book called The Shallows. I'm not sure what
okay.
that's about.
Not either.
Yeah, and he was an editor at the Harvard Business Review,
Oh, wow.
writes for The Atlantic and the New York Times, Wall
Hell,
Street Journal, and
yeah,
Wired. Okay.
let's ask this guy.
We
The
should try to get okay.
Shallows,
Nick, if you are listening, we
which
want
you're
you.
not,
We're gonna
and we
which
know
you're
you're
not.
not.
You're definitely not. But anyway, I thought it just tied into maybe, today's conversation. It's a very techie conversation. But yeah, it goes through just from the very beginning of like even just when with language and writing and then like
Hmm.
like the idea of writing letters was so romantic back in the day, and then it changed to email and it just made everything really blunt and to the point.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I haven't gotten to the part he talks about Facebook a lot, but then it's going to talk
Yeah.
about how it's soured political division and now how
Mhm.
AI blurs reality with fantasy. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Super Bloom, check it out.
Super
And
blown.
my new assignment apparently is to track down Nicholas Carr's
Mhm.
media person so we can
That'd be
try to get
really
him
fun.
on.
That'd be
Okay,
really
great.
fun.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
think it's a great idea.
okay. So Michael, what about you? Are you watching or reading anything interesting?
I'm actually, yeah, I'm reading a bunch of stuff, but I've gone through a couple of books in the last couple of weeks. But I wanted to mention what have I been watching? Oh, I watched an old Alfred Hitchcock movie that I hadn't
Oh.
seen before, but it
Mhm.
was a movie my grandmother, we called her Nana growing up. She was a very proper Southern
Oh,
woman.
yeah.
She
Oh.
always dressed up. She always had a martini. And she always legit, here's my impression of her. Michael, dear. Yeah, Nana. Honey, could you go get Nana another martini? And
Oh boy. Okay,
so I
so
go get
she
another drink.
also had a drinking problem?
No, no, no.
Okay, I don't
But
know.
but maybe. I don't know. She lived till 93,
Well,
I
yeah,
think. She was
yeah.
great. Anyway, this movie was a big reference point for her. It was The Man Who Knew Too Much,
Oh,
starring
okay. I don't think I've seen that.
Jimmy Stewart and Doris Day. So
Okay.
this was the movie that Doris Day really became famous for because she sang the song Que Sera Sera in it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know that song? She
Yeah.
sings it like a billion times in the movie. It was okay, but the Que Sera Sera thing really just reminded me of my grandmother because she would sing that
Sure.
all the time,
Oh, wow.
just kind of, walking around the house and
Right.
all of that.
Well, I
Anyway,
bet Alfred Hitchcock movies were probably now because is that like her era, right? Was it like
yeah, this
what,
was
like the 50s? Yeah.
1959, I
Sure.
think is when it
Right.
came out.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good.
Such a different time of
I
movies back
know.
then and how they fit into culture when it was,
Mhm.
such an event. You go to the theater.
Sera,
And that reminds me,
sera. Yep.
real quick,
Mhm.
did watch something. It was, I think, a couple weeks now, but is the documentary about Jane Mansfield. Did you check that out?
Oh, I haven't yet, and I love her daughter so much. She's been acting
Yeah.
for
Hmm.
years, but because the daughter,
Yeah.
she didn't really even know her mother.
No. So, and
Yeah,
she made the documentary kind of as a tribute to her and kind of as a
yeah,
way to try to get to know her because she didn't
mm.
really know her because she was like 3 years old when her mom died in the car accident.
Yeah, and she was in the car with her, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was in the back, yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously yeah,
Wow.
terrible. It's really interesting, yeah, because talks about that family
Hmm.
and then what it was like in old Hollywood back
Yeah.
then for women, for a
Hmm.
attractive woman who was kind of leading with this sex appeal, and then she was
Hmm.
trying to go do more serious stuff, but, like, no one took her seriously.
Yeah.
The whole thing is yeah, it's interesting, but that was my grandma's time, was
Hmm. Hmm.
that whole era, so
Yeah.
would recommend
Uh,
that as well.
it is on my list. I will watch it.
Okay, great. All right, well, let's get back to the techie, nerdy stuff
Yeah.
here. Interview
Let's.
with Cooper. What
Mhm.
a smart guy. Just, yeah, entertaining as well. We had a
A
great
real
time chatting with
sweetheart.
him. Really
Yeah,
sweet, yeah.
really sweet guy.
But yeah, a few things he talks about, gives us a really comprehensive history of digital assets and how stablecoin fits into that.
Hmm.
A whole overview of Fiserv's new stablecoin product, and how that's going to help credit unions bring them into staying on the cutting edge of payments innovation, and talking about they're actually working with credit unions right now to kind of create the use case for stablecoin from the ground up.
Hmm.
So it's really really exciting stuff. And one thing that's really fun, we found out that one of Cooper's children, as his toddler, actually knows what stablecoin is.
Uh-huh.
So therefore, he's much smarter than most of us at this point.
So, can I put a timestamp on this for a second?
Yes,
I
yes, please do.
just got a connection request from Cooper on LinkedIn. So, Cooper, if you're listening, and I know you are,
Oh,
you just
nice!
connected with me on LinkedIn.
Yay! All right. Well,
Very nice
you
guy.
two had a lot in common too.
Oh my God, we have
You two are
way
gonna have
too
to
much
stay
in
in
common.
touch. Yeah,
Yes,
stay in touch. Yeah,
it's pretty
great.
amazing.
Anyway, everyone is in for a real treat, I believe,
Yeah.
with this interview. Stay tuned. We have all of that coming up next. Joining us in the virtual studio today is Cooper Thompson. He is the head of product for embedded finance at Fiserv, and he is based over in McAllen, Texas. Hey, Cooper, welcome to Shared Accounts.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to the conversation today.
Thanks so much, Cooper. We're happy to have you. All right, so let's just jump right into it. I am going to start off with a very basic question here. We're talking about stablecoin today. So, for those who don't know, who may be listening, can you just describe what is stablecoin and how does it fit into the broader digital asset landscape of other things like Bitcoin and overall cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, wonderful question. So I'm actually going to go back a little bit with a little bit of a history lesson, starting off with Bitcoin in around 2008, right during the 2008 financial crisis here in the U.S. So if we go back, Bitcoin, the first block that was minted, which is really like the first transaction that was executed on Bitcoin, had a message in it. And the message was the Times, 3 Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. So the
Mm.
reason
Okay.
Bitcoin was created was actually kind of a secondary digital currency that was free from what they thought the shackles were of traditional banking, right?
Mhm.
Of the banking infrastructure. And it was really interesting. This is actually, still permeating throughout this concept of a crypto maxi or a degen or decentralized finance. However, what happened with Bitcoin was it goes up and down. It can go up $10,000 one day, down $10,000 the next, and then it can spike and go over 100,000. At one point, it was worth fractions of a penny, where I
Yep.
think the first real transaction somebody paid for a pizza with 1,000 Bitcoins. Like,
Mhm.
it's absolutely crazy. What people quickly realized is they needed a stable form of currency to trade in and out of these positions and to actually use blockchain in an effective way where you didn't have speculation baked into your transaction. And so that's where stablecoins were created.
All right.
And so the,
Sure.
the concept of a stablecoin is you have a US dollar, you take that US dollar, you send it to a stablecoin issuer. That stablecoin issuer uses a reserve bank or some kind of custody mechanism on the back end to hold it or vault it for safekeeping. And then they say, okay, we have a US dollar, it's collateralized, and we're going to give you one US digital dollar back, right? And record that on the blockchain. And that gets recorded as a token. And the idea is that token can be freely traded in the context of a blockchain and then redeemed back at that stablecoin issuer at any point in time for the underlying US dollar or denominations of that US dollar. So that's really kind of a little bit about what stablecoin is and how it came to be.
Awesome.
So can I ask you, Natasha was also asking about the broader digital asset landscape. I think you kind of laid that out, but I do want to ask, and I will say on my notes, Cooper, I drew a bunch of arrows talking as you were describing what it does and where it goes. So I think I'm all arrowed out. I think I got it mapped out correctly. But what are the benefits to community financial institutions like credit unions of incorporating stablecoin?
Yes, absolutely. So stablecoins are built on top of these 24/7, 365 borderless settlement ledgers that everybody agrees to, this concept of a single state of the ledger, right? And so these blockchains or decentralized ledgers, which is kind of the broader term for them, they present a really unique opportunity in that you can bring a bunch of parties that don't necessarily trust each other to agree to something or have consensus on a single state. And that is very, very important and valuable, especially when you have the concept of 24/7, 365 movement. There's actually no concept of time in a blockchain. You have programmability. So when you think about being able to do things like intelligent escrow, where you have multiple parties agree to something, or some type of off-chain condition where you might have a natural disaster in a part of the country and it triggers something of like an insurance policy to do a payout.
Okay.
And so you have programmability. And then you have the borderless concept. A crypto wallet doesn't care where it is. That doesn't really fly, right? In traditional finance, you have BSA, AML, OFAC, you have all sorts of regulations, the travel rule where you have to understand where that money is going. However, the borderless concept allows you to have efficient cross-border capabilities, but you can still have full transparency if you know who the receiver is on the other side of that wallet. You just don't have to go through all the hops typically necessary with a cross-border transaction.
Okay. I think I got it.
And so, as we talk about, more financial institutions using stablecoin, we're talking about regulations that are now in place surrounding it. So it's obviously on their minds. What would you say are the benefits to, like, from the consumer side? So, for example, credit unions serve members. If a member were to see, oh, my credit union is offering stablecoin, what would be appealing about that to them? Like, is there a demand for it among consumers currently, or is it still more a new thing they're learning about? Or what would you say from the consumer side? What's kind of where they're at right now with it?
We're seeing a little bit of both. So we see a little bit where it's something we want to offer it because it's cool, it's new, and it kind of puts us in a little bit of a defensive position for when the actual quote unquote killer use case for stablecoin comes out. And then the other thing that we see is a lot around being able to do more efficient cross-border remittances, being able to actually trade in and out of other crypto positions, right? And so we see some consumers see the kind of investment opportunity, right, where they can get into other decentralized finance using stablecoin as kind of a gateway. And then we also see the cross-border use case from a consumer perspective. And then if we're enabling credit unions and small financial institutions and medium-sized financial institutions, community banks, and financial institutions of all shapes and sizes, that's where the customers live and bank with today. If we can enable them to go on chain, but also where they can retain their members and then have that relationship and create that value proposition, it's additional features that they're bringing to their customers and additional functionality. And it's exposing them to this new digital assets world. So I think that's super important. Right now, we're still kind of looking for the killer consumer case. There's a lot of use cases, up market and enterprise for treasury management and some of the programmability I mentioned. But having access to the DeFi space and with some of the investment capabilities that are coming out that are a little bit more risk forward and risk conscious investments capabilities you can do in DeFi, I think it's really exciting.
Can I make a comment, Cooper? When you first hopped on the recording here today, I mentioned how excited you sound as just a genuine person, and you're still sounding that way, and I love it because I need this kind of excitement around this topic. And I think our audience does as well. And I appreciate your enthusiasm because I can hear your real thrilling just feelings behind this whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very passionate about everything that we do and that we bring to the industry. I think this is some very, very cool technology.
Mm-hmm.
Both with the digital assets, I also have, involvement in the embedded finance area as well.
Okay.
My passion isn't about taking this technology and having it concentrated in a few different areas. I want to enable everybody to have access to this technology and to benefit from it. Not only because I think that's what will spur the true adoption, but
Yeah.
because everybody has innovative ideas and innovative thought that they can bring forth with this technology.
Mm-hmm.
Anything from a small credit union that serves, a very niche community like this specific section of a highway and the workers that work on that highway, all the way to large financial institutions, I think can benefit from this technology. I am super excited about that.
Well, let's continue the excitement because another bit of this news and reason we're having you on today is because you all, so Fiserv recently announced plans to launch its own stablecoin, FIUSD1. Can you explain that? Because this seems like a huge bit of news here that you guys have endeavored on here. And what's Fiserv's overall goal and strategy behind this?
Okay, you're going to get me more excited.
Yeah.
So Fiserv is one of the largest payments companies in the world, right?
Mhm.
And we sit in a very unique position where we have a lot of breadth and depth in both the financial institution space as well as the merchant space. We service, millions of merchants globally. We have hundreds of millions of deposit and loan accounts on file from financial institutions of all shapes and sizes, credit unions, community banks, regional banks, large banks,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. And so what we want to do is we want to light up all of those and kind of what we're looking at nodes within our ecosystem, whether they are a customer, a merchant, a financial institution, a small business, an enterprise, to be able to bring them on chain. So at Fiserv, we've always kept our finger on the pulse of the digital asset space, right? Even
Mhm.
going back a few years, we were running experiments internally just to become familiar with it. But we are a trusted entity. We're just as regulated, if not more regulated than our clients. And so we didn't want to jump in too early. However, given the passage of the Genius Act, this is a very
Mhm.
exciting timing because at the time of this, recording, we have the passage of the Genius Act
Yep.
last Friday. And then also with the upcoming Clarity Act that is currently being worked on, we saw it as a perfect opportunity to jump into the space. And we went with a white labeled stablecoin where we're partnering with the likes of Circle and Paxos on various use cases. We went with
Mhm.
the white labeled stablecoin because we want to be able to attach our brand name to it and to bring the trust, and then also to keep it within our ecosystem to bring that trust with our name.
The passage of Genius Act, did that push up the launch date?
So even prior to the Genius Act, we plan on launching something in Q4 of this year, right?
Okay.
By the end of the year.
Great.
But the Genius Act made it more firm, right? And
Okay.
so we were developing the platform and continue to develop the platform in such a way to be flexible, malleable, modular, to where, say, Genius Act fell over and it wasn't going to get passed. There's still a lot of value that can be done with these decentralized ledgers like tokenized deposits. And so we're building it in such a way to be flexible. It's not just for stablecoin. It's not just for FIUSD, but FIUSD will be a very important part of it.
Great. I appreciate laying that all out.
Okay, excellent. And so, Cooper, I'm curious now when we talk about credit unions, them potentially adopting stablecoin, it looks like with FIUSD, with your stablecoin, they would be integrating it actually into their mobile banking apps. Is that correct? Is that what it would look like?
That's correct.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know if you're speaking with your Fiserv's credit union clients directly yourself, but can you speak to at all what kind of interest you're seeing so far among the credit unions that work with Fiserv of actually integrating this? Is this something we should expect to see in some of the credit unions' mobile apps, say by next year or down the road?
Yeah, we're definitely working with a lot of financial institutions right now, credit unions as well.
Okay.
We've actually had a lot of demand from our credit unions kind of in this blockchain space because of,
Mm.
the capabilities it can bring from this 24/7 365 capability, allowing credit unions to come together and be able to settle between each other. So we've seen a lot of use cases there. We are building out a set of open APIs with our digital assets platform, what we call the DApp, that anybody
Mhm.
can integrate to. So we're building out the DApp. We're also building out a iOS and Android SDK that can be embedded into mobile banking applications. And then we're going to be, and I like to say, dog fooding our digital assets platform, right? We're eating our own dog food
Okay.
with the digital assets platform and the iOS and Android SDK, where we're going to be embedding them into our experience as well, right? So Fiserv is a large provider of digital banking experiences, and we plan on taking all of those capabilities and embedding them into our experiences, but also surfacing them for other digital banking applications to embed into their experiences. So we're making this a completely open ecosystem when it comes to
Yeah.
digital assets and FIUSD.
In our research of you, Cooper, and taking a look at before we had this recording here, we found in a recent interview you said about Fiserv stablecoins are the quote entry point.
Yes.
Right. What do you mean by this? And can you explain how that is playing into Fiserv's digital asset strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So digital assets are a lot more than stablecoin.
Okay.
And what we recognize, right, is that when you are using stablecoin, FIUSD in this case, the deposits do leave the financial institution and go to a reserve bank, right? The actual underlying US dollar, right? Because it has to get collateralized by the stablecoin issuer in order to issue out the stablecoin. And so we're doing a few things with that. One, we are enabling our financial institutions to be kind of like a sub-custodian or a fiduciary for their customers, where the financial institution owns an institution level amount or holds an institution level amount of FIUSD, and then it gets ledgered out to the individual customers. That has quite a few benefits on both sides, right? For the customer, it limits the complexity. They don't have to deal with crypto addresses. They don't have to deal with seed phrases, wallets, or anything like that. It puts
Mhm.
the FIUSD right next to their existing account. And then for the credit unions and the financial institutions, it allows them to own the relationship with their members or customers. That way, they are able to kind of productize this offering for them. And so we do recognize that those deposits do leave. And so what we're doing is FIUSD is like the digital cash or the settlement mechanism within our ecosystem for the digital asset space. However, after that, we plan on launching capabilities for credit unions and financial institutions to tokenize deposits. That way, they can
Mhm.
still use the programmable capabilities of blockchain and being able to build new digital experiences on top of that, as well as other on chain financial products. And so there's a lot of capabilities you can do with this programmable nature to bring on chain lending, intelligent disbursement of loans, different forms of
Mhm.
escrow capabilities. And that's where we see kind of the future going. So FIUSD is our jumping in point.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
building that cache layer. And then after that, we're going to expand and innovate and really co-innovate with our financial institutions. A lot of them are bringing the use cases to us, and we're co-innovating with them as we build, right?
Mhm.
And so that's what's really exciting is this goes a lot beyond just the stablecoin as well.
I've got a nerd dumb question here. What does the Excel spreadsheet look like for this product and its mapping? I'm just thinking of all the tabs you might have in it and how many color codes you have with this product rollout. How significant is that Excel spreadsheet?
So I am a diagram and arrow nerd.
I love
Ah.
that. I love
So
that.
I am a crazy user of something called Lucid Chart. And
Okay.
I have like sequence diagrams and flow
Ooh.
charts and
Okay.
hierarchies and all of that in there. I have, pieces of like old envelopes on my desk where I'm scratching things down. So I'm a very visual person. And so I have lots of tabs everywhere of these different diagrams. And then, of course, a massive business requirements document that we're building out
Sure,
with
sure, sure.
tons of user stories and things that we have to implement. So
Nice.
it's looking a little crazy, but there's a lot of method
Mhm.
behind the madness.
I love that that's who you are, and God bless you for
Oh, I
being
love
that
it.
way. Because
Yes.
Excel, boof. I love the visual too. So cool.
Nice.
We know
Well,
a
that's
little bit
super
more about Cooper.
exciting. Yeah. Well, and I'll just say, I think, Cooper, what I thought was most interesting about what you were just saying there is the fact that you're kind of working with the credit unions and the other financial institutions to innovate for use cases. It's not like, oh, these are the predetermined use cases for this, but you're actually like creating it in real time together. And I think that's really exciting, especially for the credit unions involved, getting to kind of be part of the birth of this new concept that might
Yeah.
become normal later on. So that's really awesome.
Right. That's who we are here. We're
Yeah,
enablers.
love that. Okay, real quick, wanted to go back to what you kind of brought up just briefly earlier, the Genius Act, which is now official. It's been signed into law. Can you talk about what that did specifically, how it's going to help credit unions, other financial institutions, and their partners like Fiserv? What will it help them achieve? And then was there anything, like any details in it that you didn't like so much? I mean, I don't know if you know every detail about it, but or anything that maybe was left out or it should have been tweaked? Yeah, just curious to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the Genius Act is super exciting, right? I do innovation for embedded finance and digital assets, and innovation only goes so far. But if you take innovation and you couple that with regulatory clarity, you have an incredible match, right? Because you are able to bring trust and comfort to the banks, right? And to credit unions. And that's what credit unions and banks do, right? Their whole mission is to manage risk and to bring value to their members. And so if the Genius Act brings that, because it
Mhm.
kind of gives them a framework to build from, but a framework in this super innovative and novel area of technology is super exciting. And the Genius Act, I'm going to say, I'm quite impressed by the way the Genius Act was crafted and different provisions in there, right? So there is a provision around, and we're still digesting it, but there's a provision around being able to provide interest back to holders of what they are very specific about, a payment stablecoin. This provision in there was introduced to kind of provide some guardrails around stablecoin to where you don't have deposit flight from credit unions and financial institutions to these stablecoins as the form of like kind of these universal
Mhm.
bankless high yield savings accounts, right? And
Okay.
so it was to kind of prevent that and also to prevent concentration risk where you have all of these US dollars concentrated instead of reserve banks, and it would break the banking infrastructure and the financial infrastructure of the US. And so I'm going to say the Genius Act, what came out from it, quite pleased with and very
Great.
impressed by that act. The Clarity Act takes it a
Sure.
step further.
Yes, it
I don't
does.
Yes.
know if y'all have seen that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is deep. It is
Yep.
full of jargon. It brings a lot of clarity, I will say that, but it is a lot to digest, around what areas are regulated by the CFTC, what's regulated by the SEC, what's considered a security, what's not a security, how can derivatives happen, what's the definition of decentralized exchange. That one is going to be a monster when it passes, but it's going to bring even more clarity. And these acts bring more innovation, right? It brings new
Okay.
provisions where it spurs capitalism, right? Where new companies can come out and they can build these new products that help emphasize and help uphold these regulatory requirements. So
Yeah.
these type of regulations really excite me.
Well, so speaking of exactly that, great segue, because I want to ask, where do you see regulation of digital assets going? Because I don't know if NCUA is ready for this. I don't know. They're doing their best. Hell, they just had their first full board meeting in 3 months yesterday. But where do you see regulation heading with this? Do you think you seem really optimistic about the legislation?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about the legislation. I think right now the current administration's very open to, and the current regulators and the individuals in place and the
Mhm.
entities in place are very open to digital assets, right? It's very friendly towards innovation and digital assets. I see it going in a very positive direction. You have the, legislation that comes out, the passage of the Genius Act. Now the regulators will circle around it, right? And actually define the policies and everything around that. I see it going in a very positive direction. And there's going to be comment periods and all of that, industry thought, lobbying, everything that goes with that. So I'm optimistic, honestly. So far, I will say this, so far, so good.
Love it.
Okay,
Great
good.
way to look at it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say we have not dived into the Clarity Act yet because, as Michael mentioned, this week has been all about the NCUA. There's an ongoing lawsuit where two of the board members had been absent for a few months because they're removed. Now they're ruled to return. So hopefully they'll get to this because this other chaos, this legal chaos has been kind of getting in the way of some actual rulemaking, it appears. So anyway, we'll see. Okay, Cooper, one more question before we go into part 2. Just wanted to ask overall, from a competitive and business growth standpoint, why would you say it's important for credit unions to, start looking at stablecoin at least, if not totally, launch it within the next year or two? It kind of goes along, I guess, with, you want to stay innovative. You need to be able to stay on the cutting edge of all this technology to compete. What would you say about that for credit unions?
Yeah, so I'm going to give kind of 2 answers here, kind of an offensive position and a defensive position. How to play offense, how to play defense.
Oh, offense, not offensive.
No, offense. There we go.
I was like, oh my God, what's he going to say?
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. So from a defensive perspective, right? Mm-hmm. This is the direction things are going, right? When it comes to money movement, this 24/7, 365 programmable nature that decentralized ledgers bring, and the regulation here in the US and honestly how quick that moved is making that all the more clear, right? And so it's going to move fast. There is going to be competitors out there that are going to launch things very fast. There's going to be financial institutions that launch things fast. So it's important to have a strategy to be aware of it and to have a defensive position on how to adopt it and get into the space. Or when the adoption gets spurred and the snowball happens, consumers and small businesses are going to start going to places that offer the capability. From an offensive, thank you for clarifying that. From an offensive standpoint, the innovation that these programmable capabilities, bring allows you to start thinking about financial products and financial product offerings in a way that was never thought of before, right? And so starting to think about what happens if you have the power of many coming together, right? Like in the credit union space, if you start to think about credit unions to start to work together to bring value, to their members as a whole and to start creating financial products that kind of bring them together, I think that's where that offensive strategy can come out. Because if you think about it, this ledger, this unified ledger allows those kinds of things to start happening, right? Where, we've always heard of like consortia and those kinds of things where they start to collaborate, but this ledger, this unified ledger concept really allows that to start taking place and these new financial products to happen. And so I think it's interesting to see what kind of financial products can happen with the power of many is going to be really interesting from an offensive play.
Okay, some exciting stuff there. All right, well, Cooper, let's go ahead and move into part 2 of our interview. This is going to be a lot of fun because it is all about you. Are you ready?
Oh, maybe so. We'll see.
Cooper.
Okay, so first, now, we did learn before we got started here, you're based out in McAllen, Texas, in southern Texas currently. Is that your hometown, or where's your hometown? Where did you grow up?
It is. I was born and raised here in beautiful McAllen, Texas, and my parents live about 3 minutes away. My sister lives about 2 minutes away. My brother 5 minutes away, and then my wife's parents about another 6 minutes away. So we're all right here in McAllen.
I'm glad you love your family so much.
Oh, yes.
My family, we're spread across 3 time zones. So
oh, my goodness.
It's fine. But hey, I want to ask, since you grew up in McAllen, what was your high school mascot?
The Bulldog. McAllen High School.
Were you any good at anything there?
I was in drumline. I was pretty good at percussion.
Same here, man.
Oh, there we go. A drummer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you still play drums at all?
I have a drum set behind me, but I also have a 3-month-old downstairs
Ah,
and a 2-year-old. Their naps are very, very important to them.
No
So
kidding.
I don't get to play the drums much anymore. I've been thinking about getting an electronic drum set and wearing
Yep.
headphones,
Yep.
but still sometimes those are a little bit loud if you get into a big jam session. So
Oh,
maybe.
yeah. Okay. Thanks for
sure.
sharing all of that.
Okay.
I want to ask, kind of on your nerdier tech side of the world, have you always been really interested in tech and computers and things like that?
Yes. You know what's funny is I have a very funny when kids are young, they say, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a police officer and
Hmm.
whatnot. So believe it or not, I found a piece of notebook paper from when I was in second grade, I think.
Okay.
It was either in second grade or like sixth grade or something like that. And I went and I looked and it said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it said, I want to work in technology and more specifically artificial intelligence and computers. And I was like, really, Cooper? Like,
Wait, what?
yeah, it was
You
crazy.
you were that aware?
I was pretty aware. I think what happened was when I was about, 6 years old, we had a computer that broke.
Wow.
My
Uh-huh.
parents had a computer that broke, and I said, I think I can fix it. But it
You
didn't
know
need to
what?
be taken apart, but I thought it did. And I opened
Of
it up
course.
and then I just kept taking things apart. Well, I made the computer more broken, but I learned a lot in the process. So I've always had a fascination for technology and for computers and AI and just
Oh,
all
wow.
things tech.
Can I point
Oh
out
my gosh.
something? I appreciate the heck out of your parents for not stopping you doing that. The confidence of a 6-year-old Cooper and them just going, okay, and letting you have it, I think is brilliant. We love you,
My I
parents.
love my parents to death. They are incredible and have been so
Oh,
supportive in everything
Good
that I do,
job.
even if it drives
oh.
them a little crazy.
That's so
Great.
wonderful. Oh, I just have to say, when you're describing like the broken computer trying to fix it, that's exactly what I pictured when I looked at your LinkedIn profile, read a little bit about you, was writing up these questions, and I'm like, I bet he was the kind of kid that was like trying to actually physically like fix stuff. But and then that led into this career. So that is
And then
awesome.
sometimes I would break it, try to fix
Or
it,
break.
but my heart
Yeah.
was in the right place.
Very nice.
Okay, gotcha. Now, this next question, you kind of answered it already. I was going to ask you what is a hobby or a talent of yours that doesn't have anything to do with technology or work, and you said the drumming. Would that still be your answer for that?
Yeah, but right now I really love to be bad at tennis.
Oh, okay.
That's
I've
easy.
been
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of tennis lately, like over the past year. And so when I have a lot of, a big day or I have a lot of stress, going and playing on the court is really fun. I'm not super good
Fun.
at it, but I really love it right now.
Oh, that's great. It's
Nice. I love that.
great exercise.
Yeah. I bet it's hot out there to do tennis out in
Probably.
right
I
now in
play
the summer.
indoors.
Oh, okay. There that
Yeah, so
as
we
you
have an
should.
indoor place that's pretty great. So
Okay.
yeah, definitely indoors.
That would probably not, yeah, that wouldn't be good outside.
I think the smell of a fresh can of tennis balls is just so good. I really love that.
Can I actually, Michael, I wanted to ask him just before we move on to our last two standard questions.
Yeah.
Cooper, since you mentioned you have like three small children at home, are they following in your footsteps with the interest in technology?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a really
What
good question. So, my son loves putting things together. He plays a lot with the Brio wooden trains.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so I can see his brain starting to work that way. And God bless my wife because if she has to put up kind of with what I, used to do with breaking things and tying string everywhere, like
Mhm.
it's going to take a lot, but I can start to see his head going in that way. So a
Nice.
little bit with the technology, but a lot with just like tinkering and tying things together and seeing what breaks. Like I could start seeing him think that way. So I'm going to say yes.
Nice. Nice.
Does your son understand stablecoin?
Yes. So he was
Wait,
actually
what?
playing. So
Wow.
he was playing grocery store with my mother-in-law the other day, and I hear him from the other room. And they're playing grocery store, and he has some. My mother-in-law walks up with some fruit, and she says, "Okay, Carter, how much is that going to be?" And he says, 5 stablecoin. And
Wait.
my mother-in-law, what's that? And I was like, okay, wait, let me explain this. And so I gave them,
Oh,
the
it's
whole
so
30-minute spiel, but
Right.
Yeah.
it's adorable. Like he's
so cute.
definitely in tune with everything.
To point out, I don't know if we've mentioned, but you have 3 kids. The youngest is 3 months. I don't think we've
Yes.
mentioned you have others.
Yes.
You have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old?
Yes, that's exactly right. So I have
Okay.
a 4-year-old son, a 2-year-old son. They love on each other. They beat each other up. It's
Yeah.
absolutely adorable. They can't be apart, but
Mhm.
they also, if you get them together, it's like chaos. So it's absolutely lovely. And then a 3-month-old who absolutely loves her naps and is so adorable. So
I just wanted to clarify it wasn't the 3-month-old that understood stablecoin. If so,
Oh,
I was
no,
like,
that
really
would be
impressive.
she has to get into a program immediately to be taught even more.
that would be something.
Yes. Okay. Last couple of questions here. One, what was the first album, CD, playlist thing you ever bought, downloaded, listened to when you were a kid?
So I have an older brother. I'm actually the baby of the family.
Okay.
I am 13 years apart from my sister, my older
Whoa.
sister, and then 8 years apart from my brother.
Okay.
And so when I was little, I would always listen to the music that my brother would listen to.
hmm
And so at the time, he was very much, into Warped Tour and all of that. So I would have to say a punk rock album of some sort, either like a Bad Religion or a Fall Out Boy or No
Okay.
Effects or a 311,
Yeah.
something along those lines. So some good like punk rock was what I was into.
I love that answer.
Love that.
Do you play any of those on the drums?
I used to, yeah. So
Okay.
my brother is incredible at guitar, and we used to
nice.
have jam sessions all the time. And so we talked about my parents earlier. So in addition to giving me computers to break, we also had a music room at the
Mhm.
house that we had like an amp set up for my brother with guitars. I had a full drum set, and we would always jam out and have fun and play punk music.
Can I tell you something? Your life and my life are very similar.
Ooh.
I mean,
Ooh.
as far as music, brothers playing guitars, drum sets in the house, playing tennis, being the baby. It's very strange.
Oh, wow.
You're saying all the crap that I grew up with. So
Maybe this is the
funny.
start of a wonderful friendship.
Oh, I hope it is.
I know. It's like Gen X. Michael is the Gen X version of Cooper.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Cooper, final question today. We ask all of our guests this. What was the last movie that you watched?
Oh my goodness. So I haven't been watching a whole lot of movies, but I have been doing a lot of binging of Netflix and shows like that.
Sure.
I just rewatched Stranger Things season 4
Oh, yeah.
to prepare
yeah.
for the new
Yeah.
season.
Mm-hmm.
So I took another trip to the Upside Down. That was really fun, and something I was laughing about. So I talked about the diagrams I did for stablecoin and digital assets, right? And I was building the diagram, and I was like, okay, so I have the fiat movement up top, right, which shows how US dollars are moved between the banks. And then down below, I have how the digital assets move. And I was like, oh my goodness, digital assets are the upside down for banking. They just mirror each other in like a new way. And I was like laughing as I was going through it. So
great analogy.
Great analogy.
So, and also a little bit spooky, right?
Yeah.
But it's all good. But yeah, Stranger Things, definitely recommend. Just been watching a lot of different shows on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and the like.
That's a great.
Yeah, great show. I'm very excited for the new season. I might have to rewatch the previous one because I think it was like 2022 with
It's
the
been a while.
one. Yeah, it's been a while, and it got delayed. Finally, I know a lot of people have been anticipating
Is this
So
the last season that's coming out?
It is, sadly.
Okay.
I think if they try to do another season, we risk the actors might be retired. So
they'll be on Social Security at that point, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They've definitely. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they look like now because they've, and they're young. So when they age, you can see the aging like quicker. So yeah, I think at this point they probably don't look like they're in high school anymore.
No, they're all going to look like Winona Ryder at that point.
Right. Okay, well, Cooper Thompson, head of product for embedded finance at Fiserv. This was so much fun. We learned so much. Yeah, we really appreciate your brain and explaining all of this to us and to our listeners. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Cooper.
And to all of our listeners, thank you for downloading today's show. Please subscribe to Shared Accounts with CU Times in all of the normal podcast places. And please share our episodes with everyone you know, coworkers, relatives, friends, pets. Just make sure everyone hears it.
100%. Feel free to rate us too. We love 5 stars. As always, thank you so much to our producer, Zach Nyheisel. Thanks, Zach. Join us again next week for a new episode of Shared Accounts with CU Times. Until then, thanks for listening.